The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Next on the Bronx Journal, actor Siddiqui Fofana, Saudi Tejada, and Andre Rivera of the Bronx River Alliance, Erica Gonzalez and Javier Gomez from El Diario, and bachata singer Lynx.
This is the Bronx Journal, the television edition of the online multilingual community newspaper. Published by the students and faculty of the Journalism, Communication, and Theater Department at Lehman College. On the internet, on the radio, and on television, the Bronx Journal covers the issues concerning the people of the Bronx.
Welcome to the Bronx Journal. My name is Andre Kettle. Our next guests are involved in numerous environmental projects around their community. At the Bronx River Alliance, they are sharing important knowledge and history about the Bronx River and why it is so important that the river be protected. Saudi Tejada and Andre Rivera, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. For Ms. Tejada, what is the Bronx River Alliance and how did it get started?
Well, basically, the Bronx River was heavily polluted in the 1970s. There was cars, furniture, tires. I've heard of stories of people not even able to walk by the river because it smells so bad. So it was basically a community taking back the river that fought and worked together to bring back this river to life. So basically, so it was a lot of community work in the 1970s that built, and in 2001, the Bronx River Alliance became an official nonprofit organization.
Okay. For Mr. Andre, what is the importance of the Bronx River Alliance?
Well, the importance of the Bronx River Alliance is basically, we work in partnership with the community and other organizations so that to bring knowledge and awareness to that fact that there is a Bronx River and that it actually exists and that people are using it and that it's recreational and whatnot.
The New York City has its flaws with the rivers, and the New York City is known for its Bronx River and is the cleanest river. How do you guys keep it clean?
Well, it's not necessarily known as the cleanest river.
Yeah.
It's one of the freshwater rivers, the only one in the city. And basically, we have a program called the Education and Recreation Program, and basically this program utilizes canoes through recreation, and what we'll do to keep it clean is we'll have either myself or the education director or the recreation specialist go out, take a group, and we'll go clean the river via removing plastic bottles. The New York City Department of Environmental Protection has this thing called a skim boom, which is located inside Concrete Plant Park, and basically what that does is it collects trash as it flows down, usually floatable or organic trash, and basically they clean it up at least once a week after rainfall, because usually when you have rainfall in the Bronx River, you have a lot of pollution that comes down with that rain into the river.
Where does the Bronx River run through exactly?
Well, it runs through the middle of the Bronx. Basically, it starts up in Kensico and Valhalla, New York, and it runs all the way down to Hunts Point, where it meets the Long Island Sound and the East River, and the rest is history.
And for Ms. Tejada, is the program a non-profit organization or is it funded by a major organization?
It's a nonprofit organization. We receive funding from various sources. We have government, foundations, and we recently launched our membership campaign. So it's supported by individuals, foundation, government, corporations, sponsorships, activities, fundraising activities as well. We have an annual gala. We have our annual flotilla.
Wow. And do you work with other public organizations, like during the time period that is open?
Well, we work with a lot of partner groups in the community. For instance, we also do a lot of work on the Greenway. So, for instance, we'll partner up with a smaller nonprofit organization, Velocity, and they teach kids how to ride bikes, and also they commute in the neighborhood and learn about urban planning while they're doing it. So basically, we would support them because we have 16 bikes available. So we'll actually lend them, we'll lend it to them so they can use it to. A lot of people don't know about the Greenway as well, so they can experience the Greenway and also learn how to ride a bike.
And what is the Greenway exactly?
Well, basically, the Greenway is a multi-purpose trail that runs along the Bronx River. There's a lot of missing links in this trail. So we're constantly pushing for projects to move forward between the New York City DOT and New York State DOT to work together and move projects along. And a lot of the community members don't know that these projects, are happening. So we raise awareness to these issues as well. And we also, do grant writing for capital dollars to come in. And so we try to just push these projects along and connect the Greenway along the entire length.
That's awesome. And for Mr. Andre, what do you do when you enter the Bronx River Lines?
Well, usually a day will start up where, depending on what's going on that day, we'll meet up, have everything prepped. So we'll have like a canoe trailer. Because we're located inside the Bronx office for the New York City Parks Department, and because a lot of our access points are through city parks, we usually have a parks truck, and we'll pick up our trailer and we'll usually go to the meetup spot where we're meeting a certain group or a person. And usually that will involve unloading canoes. And then when a person or a group shows up for a canoe tour or to be on the river, they'll have to either sign a waiver in advance, which is from our insurance agency, the American Canoe Association, ACA. And then usually we'll get them PFD, personal flotation device, which is like a life jacket, and make sure that everything's checked, making sure that that life jacket doesn't go above their ears. God forbid they fall in or, get knocked unconscious, you're able to float.
Okay.
Which rarely happens. We have a 99.9% dry rate. Usually folks who fall in the river are folks who are, fooling around after the canoe tour is over and think that everything is safe, but something ends up happening.
You talk about the canoe tour. Are there people outside of the state or the country that come to the Bronx River Lines for the tour?
We have not so much multiple folks, but a variety of folks who come through, usually from other places. And sometimes these folks are either part of some kind of program that's study abroad, or they're coming to visit the country and they heard about this promotion or something in that realm of things.
And the people that live in the area, what do you think they think about the program?
Well, when they do experience it, they usually love it because 9 out of 10 chances they've actually never been on the river because of so much things that have blocked access to the river. Mainly not having parks that lead to the river, which is like new. I'd say like maybe the last 10 years we've had 3 waterfront parks built, and in the Bronx that's non-existent, especially by the Bronx River. And normally these folks, when they get on the river, they really love it because the Bronx River is designated as a national water trail. Usually they'll find out about it online, or they'll find us online and they'll get involved.
Okay. How many people on a daily basis come through the Bronx River Lines?
Well, for the staff, it's usually about 20 of us who work there. And then for folks who are visiting, it's very rare because of our location. We're located inside the Bronx Parks office. And usually for folks who come through daily, those are folks who are going on a tour. And usually that could be anywhere between 2 people or 30 people, depending on the group or situation.
And for Ms. Tejada, how do people who are interested get involved in the Bronx River Lines?
Well, you can definitely check out our website, www.bronxriver.org. We have various programs. We bring out close to 1,000 volunteers each year in planting and cleanup activities. We have the canoe program. We have basically you just go on the calendar and see what's going on and sign up. Register. You can also sign up for the e-newsletter, which, you'll get a monthly newsletter of what's going on the Bronx River.
Awesome. And for you, Mr. Andre, I know you enjoy being there. So what are the most memorable moments that you have been there so far?
I have so many of them. It's hard to choose. I think overall the most memorable moments that I've had since I've worked with the Bronx River and I've worked on the river is the reaction I get from young folks. You know,
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we do take out a lot of older folks and adults on the river, but for young folks who have never experienced the river or being educated through classes, it's fun to have to work with them first of all and see their enthusiasm. Like, yeah, we're going on the Bronx River. We're getting like. They're like it's unexplainable how enthusiastic they get at times. And that for me is memorable. Like, you know, being told that, oh, this is awesome, I want to do this again. You know, when can I see you again? You know, those kind of things.
For Ms. Tejada, do you feel some type of joy when the kids that work there like do their own projects or do their own research without the help of others?
Of course. I mean, I can remember actually this one student who actually was taking pictures along the Bronx River. And that was pretty interesting how he really captured the community interacting with the river. And, you know, it was like a surprise. I didn't know he was working on that. And it was just beautiful. Like, you know, they looked professional. Yeah, so it's always gratifying to see the younger generation interested in the Bronx River and raising awareness to it.
And is there a seasonal that the Bronx River Alliance is open, like due to the weather, like rain or snow?
Yeah, well, actually this Saturday is going to be our last volunteer event of the year. So our events start to like just die down in November. And then in May, we actually start the season off with our annual flotilla, which is actually a 5-mile paddle down the river.
Awesome.
We bring out like 200 people down the river. This year we've had to improvise because actually there's a fish ladder passage construction going on 182nd Street. So basically the fish were blocked off and now there's a construction for a ladder that will allow them to travel upstream so they can spawn and then go back into salt waters.
Wow.
So yeah, so we had some, you know, technical difficulties there to do our full flotilla this year. So instead we had our first 5K canoe relay race. And
Really?
it was a huge success. We turned it into a fundraiser and, you know, participants were able to raise money online and we actually doubled our goal. So it was a huge success. So next year we're thinking if, you know, the construction ends, that we'll have the regular flotilla with the canoe relay race. We'll combine it. But yeah, we usually get started back in May, in the warmer season. And during the winter, we usually have our winter assembly in February, March actually. Where we just kind of like come out of hibernation to see what's going on.
All right.
Yeah.
And once again, if people want to get involved and contact you, where do they go?
They go on the website, www.bronxriver.org. You can sign up for our e-newsletter and you'll get monthly e-newsletter on what's going on, a calendar of what's going on. And that's where you can keep updated.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
We will be back with more of the Bronx Journal.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
Welcome back to the Bronx Journal. My name is Angel Pinto. Residing in the Bronx, our next guest has made his way to the bright lights of theater, having received a handful of accolades for his acting abilities. His credits include commercials, music videos, and many off-Broadway performances that have been recognized and given high praise by critics. His talents are sure to land him somewhere on the big screen. Here today to talk about his experiences as an actor, welcome to the stage, Siddiqui Fofana. It's a pleasure to have you here, man.
Thank you.
So talk about yourself. Who is Sodiqui Fofana and what do you do?
Well, I'm a professional actor. I've been acting for 7 years.
Okay.
I have a manager, agent, commercial agent. For me, Sodiqui Fofana is someone who represents a timeless creed, you know, a whole generation, you know, coming from an African background.
Okay.
And I feel like I represent all creed, colors, and tradition.
All right. How did you get into acting? Was this something you wanted to do as a child?
Well, I grew up around a lot of filmmakers like Edwin Pagan, Pepper Negron, especially Latino filmmakers. And I grew up around a lot of celebrity actors like Mel Jackson,
Okay.
Benga from The Wire, and a lot of actors, Mark John Jeffries from Get Rich or Die Trying with 50 Cent. So I grew up around that community, and that would inspire me to go forward.
So it seemed like the people in the field, already professionals, they influence your whole passion for acting. You want to elaborate on that? How did those people, meeting them, how did that help you?
Well, Mark John Jeffries, I take class with him every Tuesday and Wednesday. And he's a young, you know, talent and star. And I felt like working with someone like him will build my craft. And growing up, I grew up around Mel Jackson. Mel Jackson did films with like Queen Latifah, you know, Soul Food, and he always inspired me to go forward. There's a quote he tells me, he says, "The world mirrors your level of awareness, but do you see it?" You know, and if you see the awareness that you know, that you're putting out there, you will understand what the world is throwing back at you. So, you know, being around that made me more spiritual and understanding about what it means to be human.
That's some powerful stuff. So what is your ultimate goal with acting? Where do you see yourself in about 10 years?
10 years, I see myself doing Broadway plays, you know, maybe a couple of hit Hollywood films. I actually think I could do that within 5 years with the new representation I have supporting me. You know, I'm signed with Carson Coker, Bohemia Group. They represent a lot of actors on Broadway, theater, television. I have a new movie that I'm gonna do next year, working with Whoopi Goldberg as the producer.
All right, well, we got our fingers crossed that you definitely get to that point.
Thank
You mentioned in your Who I Am interview on YouTube that you represent a culture, you represent a community. Can you expand on that? Because you said some good stuff there.
Of course. I mean, coming from Guinea-Korea, West Africa, a lot of kids grow up there without having acting in their mind.
Okay.
And for me to be in America, the land of opportunity and everything, to be able to do a lot of these Broadway plays, off-Broadway plays, you know, last year having a good review from the New York Times,
Okay.
a lot of my family back home, especially kids, they were impressed about seeing the name Sodiqui Fofana on a review like that, you know. So I always understand in my journey that there are people who look up to me, and if I give up, you know, I'm letting their hopes and dreams die, because coming from Africa, your parents usually want you to be doctors and lawyers, and I'm someone who's kind of different, you know, going outside of that box. So I carry that tradition with me, that creed with me. And I feel like I'm their hopes and dreams. And if I could open a door for myself, I could definitely open a door for the next kid who's coming, not only from Africa, but Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, you know, because there's not a lot of us represented in Hollywood.
I agree. You talk about the role your ancestors and your family from West Africa play. What about the Bronx? You grew up in the Bronx. Talk about the importance, the Bronx, the effect of the role that Bronx played in your life.
Well, the Bronx teach me what it means to hustle and grind, because you need that as an actor or as a, you know, rapper or artist or whatever you're doing. And it showed me a whole different tradition that people have here, and this hustle. You know, New York, I feel like New York has so many people that are passionate about, you know, becoming artists, and being around the Bronx and learning from people of all creed, colors, and, you know, things that they're inspired by, and it teaches me to be more human, and that's what I bring as an actor to the stage or film, television. But one thing I get from it is how to grind and hustle very hard.
You mentioned the grind, that's very important. Talk about the daily grind of an actor. I mean, people only see the glitz and glamours, they don't know about the hard work that goes behind the screen. So on an average day, when you have a performance, a big play, what's the daily grind for you?
The daily grind, well, to become an actor, you have to accept rejection.
Okay.
There was an article that came out on the LA Times that said, actors get rejected more than any human being. You know, because when we go in that audition room, we're pretty much asking you to love us. but you're seeing like 20, 40, 60 people a day for that one role, you know. And you know, people don't see that. People only see when we book the role. And the rehearsal process are very tough, you know. Sometimes I'll have rehearsals that are from like 1 to 5 o'clock, and it's tiring, but when I'm on stage, people only see, you know, the performance and they love it, but there's hard work put behind. And I constantly got to travel with my headshot and resume. Sometimes I'll be home and I'll get a call from my agent saying, hey, you got to audition today for Law and Order or this and that, and it's a hustle.
Yeah, the grind doesn't stop. Your latest work, Children of the Killers, it was received a lot of good feedback from Angel Rodriguez at nyctalking.com. I did my research. So how does like all this recognition and that you receive, how does that affect your career? Does it help your next your project? How does talk about your other people recognizing your work?
Children of Killers, well, that kind of boosted my career because I won my first award from that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I won the Adolko Rising Star Award, which is like the Tony Awards for African American actors.
Okay.
And you know, doing that play, I got a review from New York Times, Daily News, and so much more. And you know, since then, many agents started going after me, trying to sign me, and that's how I got my new representation. And I think going forward is only going to boost my career, especially how young I am in this industry, but I have so much accomplished.
Definitely, your works have definitely speak for itself. Do you get nervous on stage? Like,
No.
what's that whole process like, or is you comfortable?
The first time I started acting, of course, it was nervous, but as an artist, I learned to block everything out, you know, block the audience out, don't let them distract you. It's all about focus, it's all about being driven, and it doesn't make me nervous. I mean, most actors have a habit of doing certain things with their body that make them look nervous, but if you know how to transition that into playing your character, you know, it will work well. But no, I don't get nervous today.
All right. Well, for your sake, that's a good thing to do. Is there a specific memory you have where things didn't go as planned or something went wrong? This is theater live. Like, what type of anything you can remember?
I did this play at the Billie Holiday Theater called Legend of Buster Neal, and there's this scene where the lead actor, he's a soap opera actor, he's supposed to go in the house, and the door was jammed and locked. So he had to find some kind of way to get in, but you know, and what he did, he just went through the backyard. But there's things that happen on stage. Sometimes the audience might catch it, sometimes they don't, but we learned how to play it in a way that the audience doesn't know there's something wrong with.
All right, you mentioned how you won your 2012 Adolko Award, right? Am I saying that correct?
Adolko, yeah.
All right, so like, does that stuff you put in your resume, do you brag about that? Does that help you with your next role project?
I don't brag about it, but when I had a meeting with Naomi Colstein, she's like one of the top managers, we had an interview. She was trying to see if she wanted to sign me. She was interested in me. And she saw my resume, she saw all these awards, and she said, why don't you have the Adolko Rising Star Award on this resume? And I said, well, I don't know, I don't feel like putting it. And she said, well, that's a huge accomplishment, you have to put that. So now on my resume, I have it next to my name, so when casting directors look at my headshot and resume, they'll see, wow, 2012 Adolko Rising Star Award.
Definitely.
And it usually, when they call, you know, like let's say they call CBS or they call Fox Studios, they'll be like,
that's the first thing they say, yeah.
They say, we have Siddiqui Fofana, he's a rising star. Like, they need all of that stuff to pitch me in, to have them, like, this past Friday, I went in for a pilot that Tina Fey is gonna do.
Oh, okay.
So that was one of the things they did to try to get me into the door. So
they try to sell you as best as you can.
Yeah, because it's all about selling you to get into that door, because if they're gonna see 20, 40 actors, they wanna see the top best that they could pitch to the directors.
Yeah. All right, well, we're about to go to break. It's to my knowledge you have a monologue prepared for us today?
Yes, definitely.
All right, so want to give us a little insight before you get in your zone, your acting skill zone?
My monologue is from Beggars in the House of Plenty. It's about this teenage kid who finally talks back to his father, and his father has been very abusive to him and his mother, and this is the first time that he gets to confront his father and tell him, hey, I had enough of you. And it's really hard for him. It's like an internal struggle, but he finally lets it out.
So stay tuned. We'll be back with the Bronx Journal and Siddiqui Fofana's monologue.
These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
What's the matter with you? What's the matter with your soul? For Christ's sakes, we could have helped each other, Pop. The word is hard enough, ain't it? Without no haven at all? See, y'all are like the Bronx inside. I could vomit up a burning car. You've seen them, these dead wrecks everywhere. They've been abandoned. I feel them inside. And I was the lucky one. I was the fortunate son. What have you done to me? What did you do to your boys? No, forget you. You know what I feel when I see a beggar on the street? I want to kick him in his face. I want to beat him to death because that's me. Pathetically waiting with my freaking cup. But that's over. Because I stopped stealing, and I stopped setting fires, and I stopped breaking windows. And now I'm going to start waiting for you. To reach down to me, to touch my face, to kiss my wounds. There's been a kind of silence falling between us like a long drop into sharp rocks. For a long time now, it's been my wait. I've been waiting for something. Words. Words, I guess, some words. Do I have the words even now? I would never think of you without being shocked by your lovelessness. I would never think of you without a gasp of wonder. And I would never think of you without some pain. And despite everything, in the face of everything, it only personally ashames me to say it. I still got love for you.
Wow, that was some powerful stuff.
Thank you.
Once again, it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you here. Give the people some of your contact. Where can directors reach you? Where can prospective producers reach you at?
For producers and directors, you can reach out to my agent and manager, Carson Coker, and Bohemia Group. And my commercial agent is Avalon. And for friends, family members, or whoever want to reach me personally, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Siddiqui Fofana, SIDIKI FOFANA.
All right. Like I said, it was a powerful piece you had there. I really felt like I was there. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where to contact this man for anything with acting related. We'll be back with more of the Bronx Journal next time.
Oh, 先生你好，歡迎光臨，等等先。誒，唔該晒。
Brandon.
Hello, welcome back to the Bronx Journal. I'm your host, Carlos Piantini. El diario La Prensa, el campeón de los hispanos, the champion of Hispanics, commemorates its 100th anniversary as the oldest Spanish-language daily newspaper in New York and the longest publishing Spanish-language daily newspaper in the United States. To talk about its history and the major issues covered by El Diario, joining us is Erica Gonzalez, executive editor of El Diario, and Javier E. Gomez, Centennial coordinator and former Bronx reporter of El Diario. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Great.
Erica, when was El Diario founded?
El Diario was actually La Prensa that was founded in 1913. Okay. El Diario was founded in 1948, and both papers, after some heated competition for a number of years, merged in the early 1960s. So hence, from there on, you had El Diario La Prensa.
Okay, so that's why that name came together,
right.
El Diario La Prensa.
Right.
Okay, how did El Diario La Prensa start in New York City?
Well, La Prensa was started by Spaniards initially, and then a Puerto Rican Spaniard went to the helm, and really the Camprubí family really steered the operation for a number of decades. It was responsive to the growing Spanish community at the time, and then the community that became diverse. So you see a lot of connections to nuestro países, to our homeland. You see sort of the social events that are happening in New York City among Latinos. You see outrage in response to immigration reform quotas, et cetera. So you see like the budding community, the activism, the ties to the home. And then El Diario emerges, and it's sort of by a Dominicano at the helm with some Venezuelan financiers. And it emerges sort of in capturing the whole era of the Puerto Rican migration coming into play into New York City, you know. So, but I think the common thread between both of them and that continues on today is the advocacy and the really close connection to the community.
Okay. Where was the newspaper located when it first started?
Where was it located? I think Canal Street.
La Prensa was initially located on Canal Street.
Okay.
After that, they relocated to Hudson Street, always in that Soho, Tribeca, Chinatown area. El Diario, very interestingly, El Diario was actually founded in Brooklyn on Adams Street. A few blocks away from El Diario is actually headquartered today.
Wow, interesting. How much did the paper cost when it first started, and how many newsstands sold it?
I think I want to say it was 3 to 5 cents thereabouts, and I couldn't tell you how many newsstands sold it, but what's interesting to me is that it started out as a broadsheet, you know, just a long, lengthy paper. A lot of text when you look at it back in those days, where I think people just had a little bit of more time to comb through the paper. And a lot of information about what was happening abroad. Definitely a lot more back then. That was really.
And can you please tell me about why El Diario La Prensa adopted the slogan, the champion of Hispanics, el campeón de los hispanos?
I think by virtue of, it was sort of it emerged somewhat naturally because by virtue of those times when you had, you know, you're talking about an era where there was no 311 in New York City, where Latinos there was a hostile climate against Latinos, where, you know, our numbers were much smaller. So journalism for Latinos has taken on a different role. You know, the editorial page, the advocacy, the social benefits has been more defined and more consistent and more overt in many instances than what other ethnic groups or other racial groups have had to experience, because we've been in different stages. So El Campeón, I think El Diario, and Javier, correct me if I'm wrong, El Campeón de los Puertorriqueños first came out with El Diario, you know, and then after both papers merged, it eventually turned into El Campeón de los Hispanos, the champion of Hispanics.
Okay, good. Who was the first woman to become a publisher in El Diario?
It was actually the daughter of Mr. Camprubí, Inés, and actually her mother. So they were the first 2 women publishers of El Diario, and it was quite pioneering because back then there were no women, there were not a lot of women in journalism, and believe me, there were no women as publishers at all. And El Diario has kept on that tradition of diversity and opportunity, and we've recently had Rosana Rosado as publisher and one of the most influential women throughout the entire country.
Yeah.
And I might add that the New York Times only recently named its first female editor-in-chief, and that's been the kind of trailblazing El Diario did like decades ago. So they're behind us.
Funny thing, when you go to the New York Times archive, you will find the obit for Inés as El Diario's first women publisher.
Wow, interesting. In 1978, the offices of El Diario La Prensa were bombed. What happened?
Well, it was a wave when there were a number of extremist Cuban groups that were launching bombs, and they were often aimed at folks that they saw, or entities they saw as even remotely Castro-friendly. And at the time, El Diario La Prensa had been advocating for dialogue, you know, for trying to open up some of the lines of communication, and that was perceived, and it was used as a means of really just attacking El Diario. And this bomb was set off at the time. El Diario was on a few floors, so it was set off in the floor where there was reception, and there was no actual physical injury. It was more like physical damage, you know. So The next day, El Diario ran an editorial and said that, we're not going to be silenced. We're going to keep saying what we need to say, and this is not going to intimidate us in the kind of journalism that we need to do. And what's so wrong about saying, hey, let's communicate?
Yeah. I know also in 1984, Cuban journalist was the editor-in-chief of El Diario, but a few years after he was assassinated, what happened?
Well, Manuel de Dios Unanue was known for his aggressive style. He was really, really focused on exposing drug dealing, narcotráfico, drug trafficking, its nexus, its roots, etc. And he was really, really very much of an in-your-face journalist, and he had left El Diario already, and he had been on the tail of a major drug kingpin who ordered his assassination. And in Queens, there's a tribute to Manuel de Dios in front of near the restaurant where he was assassinated, and it was huge because there are a lot of people who are still today at the paper very connected by Manuel, who were mentored by him, like Rosana Rosado.
Yes.
And he was such a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's the reason why the NYPD has a tips line in Spanish, because he advocated for that kind of service to our community.
Wow. This year, El Diario La Prensa, it's celebrating its 100th anniversary. How do you feel to be part of an institution in New York, that has a lot of history?
We're really proud beyond words. Rosana Rosado and Erica always say that in 100 years, El Diario is not just a paper, it is a New York City institution. That's why, as part of the centennial, plenty of New York icons, New York landmark institutions like the Empire State Building, Grand Central Terminal, which also turned 100, the New York Stock Exchange, the New York Historical Society have joined forces to celebrate El Diario's legacy. El Diario's red and blue colors are pretty much emblematic. You'll see it everywhere, from newsstands in your little bodega, in your little vecindario, in your barrio, all the way to the airport.
Yeah. As part of this celebration, El Diario has launched an exhibition. Exhibitions, because it's not only one. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
As part of the centennial, El Diario has launched a series of programs that have been going on for most of the year.
Okay.
One of the most emblematic partnerships, and one that we are most dear of, it's the exhibit. It is a series of exhibits that celebrate the history of the Latino community in New York from 1980, the beginning of the so-called Decade of Hispanics, all the way to the year 2001, when the New York City Hispanic community suffered two major incidents of loss, which were the September 11th terror attack and also the Flight 587 tragedy in Bell Harbor, Queens, when we lost plenty of Dominican nationals in that tragedy. So the exhibit, it has one chapter that focuses entirely in the Bronx. It is on display at Hostos Community College at the gallery through December 20th. Everyone should go check it out. It's really, really, really moving, and it is very powerful. We also have another one at NYU.
Okay.
We have another one in Washington Heights that focuses exclusively on the Dominican experience, and we have one at the Columbia University campus.
Okay, good. A full website was dedicated to El Diario La Prensa. What people could see in that website?
Well, there are a lot of fun tools, for example, where you can build your own front page. You can take trivia quizzes about New York City Latino history.
Nice.
There's a great timeline that we poured a lot of energy into, and it's basically 10 highlights per decade. So it's really interesting because you will learn a lot about the Latino experience through that timeline. There'll be a lot of like, oh, I didn't know that moments, or I didn't know that this was still happening kind of moments. We have wonderful features from stories on police officers who came on the job in the 1950s and 60s and their comments about the police force now, to stories about the educational battles among Latinos. We have a sort of a story behind the photos, so where we interview folks who were in photos about what was happening in that specific moment, sort of like a New York Minute. There's a lot of fun, interesting features and information and history. And what we try to do is always have an anchor to what was happening today. So it's not just about a blast from the past. It's really about like, well, how does what was happening in the 1920s around immigration relate to the conversation we're having today? So we try to maintain that link.
We also have at the website great photo galleries. We have a phenomenal tool that allows people to create their own commemorative front page of El Diario, marking the centennial. People can post their photo and do their own headline. We also have one tool that allows you to download a full study guide to the last 100 years of New York City Latino history as seen through the pages of El Diario. The study guide was developed in partnership with the City College and CUNY.
I know that El Diario La Prensa has a partner with Columbia University. What is that partnership for?
The partnership with Columbia University seeks to preserve and restore the old photo archive of El Diario and of course make it available to the community. El Diario's historic photo archive was drastically damaged in a flood in 1992. We were able to preserve from about 1978 to about 2002, 2003, when the paper went completely digital in its photo department. With the help of Columbia University, we are saving all those images that were preserved. We are digitizing them, indexing them, and making them available for researchers. That Columbia partnership is what led to the photo exhibit.
Okay, good. As part of the celebration, the Empire State Building was illuminated with the colors of El Diario. What does that mean to you as an institution?
I personally went down there that evening to take photos, and I was just blown away because I'm like, here's the Empire State Building. Here are icons like Grand Central Terminal that we also celebrated with and marked its 100th anniversary this year. And to see the top of that building lit in El Diario's colors and to put out to the public that this was in honor of El Diario was just so moving. It was just really, to me, a metaphor about longevity, about contribution, about standing out, and about enduring the test of time.
It was a glorious night. Everyone was walking around, taking photographs from every possible angle of the tower. And the celebration, they had a lighting ceremony, and when you see the Empire State Building literally shutting down for El Diario, the speeches, and when you see that button being pressed and the tower light, it's one of the most unforgettable experiences that I have ever had.
Okay, nice. I know also that a big fiesta took place in Grand Central. What happened there?
Oh, we had some of the most amazing talent in our community perform, from Pregones Theater to the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, and just all these different theater groups and artists who came out and danced, who sang, who entertained the crowd. And we basically brought in the energy and talent of our community to Grand Central Terminal, and they entertained passersby to folks who came out. So it's a really beautiful celebration at another iconic institution that's marking 100 years as well.
People of all cultural backgrounds were there. They spoke Spanish, some of them didn't. They sat on the floor, they sat on benches. So we brought tango, salsa, mambo, and boleros, and all these fantastic Latin sounds all the way to Grand Central.
Okay, good. One last question. Now with technology, how do you see the paper in the future?
Well, El Diario has suffered the same kind of challenges that other media have suffered, and we're preparing. I mean, people are receiving news through Twitter, through Facebook, digitally, RSS feed, whatever. So whatever platform that Latinos are tapping into to get their information, we're going to be present, have a strong presence. So we're a multi-platform operation. El Diario has a real-time digital team that produces stories and breaks news, etc., online, and we're doing the social engagement. Actually, we have about 125,000 Facebook fans, which is more than any other local Spanish language media, including Univision and Telemundo. and the engagement is amazing, the commentary, the interaction, etc. So we're really pleased with our progress and the activity, and we see that more and more people are recognizing El Diario as a multi-platform operation.
Okay, good. So thank you very much, Erica. Thank you, Javier. I think we have learned a lot today. So thank you very much for that.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And we'll be back with more of the Bronx Journal.
I think it breaks a little to the left.
To the right.
Nope, straight.
I told you it was going right. For fun playtime ideas, go online. Just don't stay long.
Welcome back to the Bronx Journal. I'm your host, Liz Gomez. Music is everywhere, but have you ever heard a fusion of opera and bachata? Well, tonight we are going to experience a new taste of bachata. The composer and singer was born in the Bronx, but he has a Dominican and Ecuadorian roots. Known by his fans as Lynx, he is debuting his first single, Máscara. It is my pleasure to welcome him to the show. Lynx, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about a little bit about the beginning. How did you study?
Well, I started off at writing poetry at 13 years of age, and I was heavily influenced by the rapper Eminem, which is weird for bachata and Eminem, but I was a very shy person growing up, and I would always write poetry but never share it with anyone. So, over the years, my parents were always listening to bachata, salsa, Latin music, and I fell in love with it.
Oh.
So I decided to pursue that and pursue the love world in Spanish, and here I am.
Nice. So why did you decide to become a recording artist?
Well, because I love the opportunity to be able to convey a message, because when you have a microphone and you're an artist, you have an opportunity to deliver a message and everyone's going to listen to you. Whatever it is that you're going to tell the world is solely up to you. But I just love the fact that I could express myself and it can change the lives of many.
Oh, that's good. So it is Lynx your real name, or it is just an artistic name?
When I was born, my parents said, we're going to name him Lynx. No, I'm just kidding. No, actually my name, people call me Ralphie. Rafael. But Lynx, basically, I wanted to separate the artist from the person. And Lynx comes from the animal, the wild cat. And I wanted to use the Greek mythology on the animal, how it's mysterious, elusive. And a lot of people tell me that I'm very mysterious, my personality, I'm very private, a private person, reserved. So I was able to relate to the animal like that.
Oh, hear that? Okay, let's talk about Máscara. Is that your first single? We noticed that. But you are a composer and singer, and we know that you write your own letters.
Yes.
So, but what inspired you to write that song?
Well, I used a lot of experiences from family members and friends, and even friends of friends, because I felt like it was a real situation. You fall in love with the wrong person. But I didn't really want to do something typical, which is always cry in the song. I'm like, oh, you broke my heart. So I wanted to do the other side, which is you're angry, you're frustrated, and you want to let them know how you feel.
So that's the concept behind the Máscara?
Yeah, basically I'm exposing the person behind the mask. I find out who you really were. I mean, you're not wearing a mask right now, right?
Why did you come out with the proposal of putting bachata and opera together?
Because, it goes back to the whole mask thing about, mystery and whatnot. I wanted the intro of the song and other areas of the music to have this mysterious sound. And I felt like opera has those elements. And I was able to work with my producer, Ronnie Piano, and we were able to incorporate those elements and give it that touch that it needed.
Nice. I know that Lenny Santos from Aventura, he's the one who plays the guitar for you.
Yes.
So how was the experience of working with him?
It was great. It was actually awesome. It was better than I expected. He was by far the most humblest guy I've ever met in this business. Funny guy, great sense of humor. And right from the get-go, I felt like there was instant chemistry. He made me feel so comfortable around him. This is a guy who has a lot of success, and he's very down to earth. And I definitely recommend other artists to work with him because he's easy to work with. He just makes you feel like welcomed.
Nice. So what have you experienced so far in your singing career?
Well, I've met some great people thus far, and You know, just being able to, I know it's just my first song, but there are people, not just in New York City, just in other states or even different countries, that have reached out to me, and they tell me that my drive, my work ethic inspires them to pursue their dream, because I never give up. I don't believe in that. I don't even believe in limitations. I feel like if you want to become something, go for it, you know? And they fell in love with that, and they see all the success coming my way now.
Oh,
and here they are.
There is an artist that identifies you?
An artist that identifies with me. I mean, I have 3 role models, musical role models. Eminem, Mario Dom from Camila, and Romeo Santos.
Oh, nice. How hard did you push yourself into your work?
Too hard, because I am a perfectionist, and it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because you want it to be so good, but you know, it's just frustrating, because you know, you think it's good, and then you start second guessing yourself, but it's pretty hard, like, because I just want to make sure it's right. I'm pretty hard on myself.
Okay, so what can we expect from Link in the future? Another fusion of bachata with something else? A duo with another artist? Or what can we expect from?
Well, actually, I'm working on an EP. Hopefully, I'll be releasing it next year. And I'm also experimenting a little bit with different genres. And I want to showcase my talent, not just in bachata, pero I just feel like bachata is my home. And in terms of collaborations, I have a little something in mind, you know, a little something.
Oh, nice. Links, I guess everybody wants to hear the bachata, so stay tuned, because we are coming back with Links and for his first single, Máscara.
I'm a single mother of 2 kids. I work a lot. I come home tired. We do miss a lot. He dropped off for a whole month. Sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I just get frustrated because in any way that I talk to him, it just doesn't go through his head. I didn't give up because there's always hope that they'll snap out of it.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice.
Okay, this is Links. Let's do this. Y dice: yo detesto las mentiras que tú me decías y me despegaré de este mundo lejos de tu vida. He sido lo mejor que pude ser para ti, malagradecida. Dime cuándo dejarás de decirme tantas mentiras. Tú y yo no tenemos más nada. Nuestro amor se mudó y voló con tus palabras. Máscara, eso es lo que veo cada vez que me besas y dices te quiero. Tú y yo, un dúo complicado. Sentí tu amor quemando como ácido. Máscara, eso es lo que veo cada vez que me besas y dices te quiero. Rebelde, falsa profeta, repugnante y egoísta. Cada vez que tú me abrazabas me ensuciabas la camisa. Rebelde, falsa profeta, repugnante y egoísta. Cada vez que tú me abrazabas me ensuciabas Ayer te amé, hoy día te odio. Tú eres la viva imagen del diablo y espero que Diosito te perdone porque yo no lo haré. Lárgate con tu equipaje y te juro que voy a olvidarte. Qué lástima me das. Mejor sigue tu camino. Lynx and the king, the one and only Len Melody. I'm not done. Y con el tiempo vi la persona detrás de la máscara y me di cuenta que yo me enamoré de la persona errada. Ay, mujer, a tu amor le daré su propio entierro. Por tu bien déjame en paz y vete al infierno. Y tú y yo no tenemos más nada. Nuestro amor se murió y voló con tus palabras. Máscara, eso es lo que veo. Cada vez que me besas y dices te quiero. Tú y yo, un dúo complicado. Sentí tu amor quemando como ácido. Máscara, eso es lo que veo. Cada vez que me besas y dices te quiero. Falsa máscara, lárgate, vete ya, falsa máscara, ya no vuelvas más, lárgate, ya no te quiero amor, lárgate, vete ya, falsa máscara.
That was great, Lynx. Everybody's dancing behind the cameras. So how can people reach you?
They can reach me on Instagram. It's official_Lynx. Twitter is official Lynx. And my Facebook and YouTube is the same, Lynx official page.
So you got his information. Thank you for watching us. And we will see you next time in another edition of the Bronx Journal.